Conversations with Love with Eric Shawn. Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Love, where we interview real live people. They share their experience of how they've overcome adversities and how they use those experiences to spread love.
Hey, I want to welcome you all again to another episode of Conversations with Love. We are truly blessed today because we have somebody here to share with us from Australia.
Woohoo!
Another one of the universe's love angels. But before we move any further, I want to start off with a prayer. God, thank you for us allowing us to be united today. Please allow our combined energy to flow through the world, to raise the love's elevation, love vibration, to empower whoever our message is supposed to empower. Please help us to step out of the way and remember that all we are is vessels. Let the body be ours, the mouth be ours, but the word be yours. Please allow us and tell us where to go, what to do, what to say, and to who. Amen.
Amen.
So today we have Angela B. with us, and just a little bit about her bio. She's a certified transformational coach, a mom of 5, a grandma of 1. I love that word. A fashion designer, a TRTP student, an entrepreneur, a domestic violence thriver. Now, not just a domestic violence survivor, a domestic violence thriver. An author in the making, and an ex-sex worker. We are truly blessed to have you with us, and we're excited about hearing your story. I want to say that I've had the pleasure of having some conversations with you, and absolutely an amazing woman. You're gonna do big things in this world. You've survived a lot. You have a voice and a story to tell, and God has equipped you with everything that you need. Everything that you need to accomplish your goals is already instilled within you, and He will reveal pieces of it as you move forward. So having said that, Miss Angie, tell us a little bit about you.
Sure. It's such an honor to be here, Eric. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Tell you a little bit about me. Well, as you said, I'm a mum of 5, ranging from 27 down to 19-year-old twins, and a grandma to 1.
27.
Beg your pardon?
You have a child that's 27?
In February, next month.
I said you had to have them when you were 3.
Almost. 17. Had a couple of domestic violent relationships. Thank God I'm still here today to tell the story. My children are thriving. You can't judge a book by its cover, right?
Absolutely. And we all have a story. Tell us a little bit about how did the domestic relationships, how did you get involved in those?
I just had absolutely no self-worth, no value, no confidence, love. All I wanted was to be loved. And these men come along and they treat you like an absolute queen, and they just sweep you off your feet. And being so vulnerable and not having my own boundaries and my own confidence, I fell for anything. And so it's easy. It's something that I never thought that would happen to me. My parents were still together up until the day my mum died, and I just looked at my life and eventually just went, how did I get here? How did I go from a stable family into a relationship where my children were being destroyed, I was being destroyed, and I had depression as well. And so I found it really difficult to have the strength to stand up for myself, to say no, that's not okay, and being treated like that is not okay. I didn't have that strength. I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have the ability to do that. And so these kind of situations just developed because I didn't know who I was. I didn't know, how to stand up for myself.
Now, do you feel like you knew who you were at some point, or you never really knew who you were?
I don't really think I ever knew who I was. I mean, my parents told me that, the Bible says your worth is far more than diamonds, but actually believing that is really, really challenging. When you're told to be quiet and to not be seen, to be seen and not heard, it's quite conflicting. So, no, I don't think I ever really knew.
And I think that's a very common thing. I think that most of us struggle at some point with not really knowing who we are, not really having a true identity. And so we find ourselves looking and changing our personality and adjusting to situations. Is that something that you can relate to?
Oh, absolutely. I was a chameleon. Didn't even know what I wanted to do for work. Didn't know how I liked my eggs. Didn't know the type of music I liked. I just kind of, actually, I take that one back. Music I knew I liked. I always know what kind of music I like. But it just, I had this fantastic ability to mold into whatever it was that I thought my partner wanted me to be. And that was the majority of my problem. I didn't know who I was, to the point where it was like, no, this is what I want in life. This is where I'm going. This is what I'm doing. If that works for you, then fantastic. Let's do this journey together. But if that doesn't work for you, well, then that's okay. Maybe we're not suited. But instead, it was like, I don't know who I am, and whatever it is that makes you like me more, that's what it is. Whatever it is that makes you love me, that's what I'll do.
I get it.
Yeah.
So what was childhood like, besides being told to be seen and not heard?
Yeah. Look, my childhood was pretty good. I'm one of six. I'm number 3 of 6 kids. I've got 1 sister and 4 brothers, and we're very close. Mum and dad, like I said, mum and dad were together until mum died. When I think back to the relationship that my mum and dad had, and I was always a daddy's girl, and I always thought, oh, I want a man just like my dad. And when I look back, it's kind of what I had. And it wasn't that my dad was aggressive, but my dad did his life, and mum kind of just followed along. And mum was quite passive aggressive, and so every now and then she'd have a whinge to myself and my sister about what dad was doing. And sorry, are you editing this? It's my son in the kitchen having a conversation.
Everything happens the way it's supposed to.
Wow. What was I about my mum and my dad? So my mum was quite passive aggressive, and so she would have a bit of a whinge to my sister and I about my dad. And it's just that kind of dynamic. It's not a good way to be brought up, and seeing dad just doing what he wanted to do when he wanted to do it, and mum just following suit, not really having her own voice. I think that's where I learnt that type of behaviour. Well, I know that's where I learnt that type of behaviour.
So you followed suit. You followed what you saw.
That was my role model. What else do you do? What else do you know?
Exactly. So time moved on. How did you go from what happened between childhood to what I really want to talk about is the ex-sex worker. What do you mean by that?
So at 19, I walked into a brothel and said, "Hey, can I work here? I needed money." And I thought, oh, this is crazy. When I think about this and when I actually verbalize this is crazy. Remember that movie, Pretty Woman, with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere, right? I'm like, that girl is hot. Richard Gere is hot. I can do this. I can find a man to love me like that, to rescue me, this knight in shining armor, come sweep me off my feet. So I thought, I can do this. I can go into this industry and I'll find that. Yeah, that industry is nothing like that. So that's where I ended up. And I lasted about 6 months. My depression was so bad. My self-loathing was at an all-time high. It was just insane. It was awful. So I got out of that industry, got myself a normal job. But once again, I hadn't dealt with the depression. So there's a story that I think about with my mum. Whilst I'd escaped the sex industry and was working a normal job, my depression was just so bad. And there was a time where I went missing for about 3 days. I wouldn't answer the telephone. I was just so low. And my mum turned up on the door with 2 policemen. She was driving down the street. She couldn't even remember where I lived. She was so shaken, just not knowing what she was going to find. And she turned up. She'd passed this police car and she flagged them down and she explained to them the story, and they located me and brought her to my address. And she's knocking on the door, frantic, shaking. The poor darling, she was such a mess. Depression is it's so real. And when it goes undealt with, you end up in situations that are just out of control, such helplessness, such desperation. So going from an environment like a brothel and escorting and sex working and giving yourself to men who you don't want to be touched by, it does nothing for depression, let me tell you that, except stimulate it. And a lot of the girls used drugs and alcohol to cope with what they were doing. Fortunately, I didn't go down the drug path at that stage. I turned to alcohol a bit, but not in an uncontrollable manner. I've never been an addict, thank God. Never had to deal with that as well. Yeah.
Here's what amazes me about you. It amazes me about people is we are so resilient. Our spirit is resilient. And during times when we really need it, we find strength from somewhere. And I say that because here you are being transparent, not caring who's going to see this, knowing that your experience will benefit someone. Absolutely amazing. One of the reasons that I do this show is because if you really pay attention, sometimes you can convince yourself that the world is full of hate. That's because people who hate, they do it with conviction and passion and commitment. But people who struggle and somehow turn that struggle and that experience into a vessel to love people, a lot of times it goes unnoticed. I mean, it's easy to hate, but it's hard. It's a lot harder to go through something, to take ownership of it, to be transparent, and to allow that to heal people. So I commend you, number one, for your transparency.
Thank you.
I commend you for allowing God in the world to touch you and bring you to a better place. So my next question is, so you survived that. Did you completely get away from it after that? You got a regular job. And what happened after that?
Oh, there was something I wanted to say, but I forgot what it was. That's all right. It'll come back to me. Oh, that's right. You know what? There was a point in my life I was so hurt. My heart was so broken. I just thought, I cannot take any more. And this was probably about 4 years ago. I said to myself this one morning when I woke up, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done being this nice woman. I'm done giving my heart to people. I'm done caring. I'm done being kind and generous, even though that's who I am at my core. So I thought, I'm going to be this cold-hearted woman. I'm not going to let anyone in. I'm not going to let anyone close. And I tried that. I lasted a few hours. I'm like, man, this is so hard. I can't do this. I can't keep people at an arm's distance. Like, for me, this generous, warm, let me give you a hug and wrap my arms around you type of person, no matter what you've been through, I don't care. It's not about, for me, it's not about what you do for work or how much money is in your bank account. I don't care about that kind of stuff. Yeah, money helps you create really cool memories, but at the end of the day, it's not about how much money you've got in your bank account. It's about being loved, being accepted, and belonging. And that's all of us want, really, as human beings. It's all we need. Now, sorry, that's what I had to say. Now, sorry, what was your question?
My question was once you left the brothel, got a job, did things progress in an upward manner?
And yes and no. It kind of went sideways or on a diagonal. I seem to be able to make my life very hard. I used to be able to. I'm going to cancel that, clear that. I used to be able to make my life very difficult, very challenging, and very slow because I didn't. I mean, I was pretty damaged, so I was very scared, very quite withdrawn. Even though I'm an extrovert, I can be quite withdrawn at times. And my mum taught me, fake it till you make it, bluff your way through, just put that, I've got this face on and off you go. And for majority of my life, that's what I did. Inside, I was screaming out just to really be free, to really be me. And having been in the sex industry, it's not something that a lot of people will accept you for. So for me, I had a lot of secrets. So it was really hard for me to be the real me, to be really free in who I really was, because I'd experienced stuff and I couldn't quite reveal that. I couldn't reveal the real me. I don't have a college education. I don't have letters after my name. I don't have anything to fall back on, no titles. It's just, this is me. This is my experience, my life experience, and this is just who I am. I ended up back in the sex industry and another 3 times over. So since I was between 19 and 39, I ended up in the sex industry 4 times. Once again, only lasting about 6 months each time. I didn't have the ability to stay in it for very long, just enough to kind of get on my feet and to hit rock bottom and go, girl, what are you doing? You are so much more than this. You can do this. You've got so many abilities. You have so many qualities. Your life is worth living. You've got so much to give. The reason you didn't die at the hands of your partner, which I'm sure we'll discuss later, you didn't die at the times when you tried to kill yourself. Like, you are still here. Your purpose is so big. What are you doing here again? Get up, go like to the masses, whatever it takes. You need to share your story. And so, yeah, ended up in those environments again. And now I'm 45 in March. And it's taken me that long, because when I was 19, that's when I first went, I want to be a public speaker. I've got a story. I've got something to share. I've got something to give. I don't know how to do it. and this is before public speakers were really a thing. I mean, it's 26 years ago, but for 26 years, I've had the same dream, and it's taken me this long. So when I say my life kind of went sideways or on a diagonal, that's what took me this long. Well, that's how long it took me to get to where I am. And there's, our mentor, Les Brown. I found him in 2014, and I used to listen to him every day. And I had this vision. I'm like, I'm going to work with this dude. I don't know who he is. I don't know how to find him. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't care. That's my goal. That's my dream. That's my vision. And I hung on to that. He has been, him and Lisa Nichols, and Lisa Bevere, Joyce Meyer, they've been like my role models in what I want to do and what I want to become and what I want to achieve. To answer your question.
Absolutely, 1,000%. I wonder, I'm a recovering addict and alcoholic, and I can tell you that one of the things that kept the cycle going, and I wonder if it was the same with the brothel. One of the things that kept it going was I would do something, and there would be so much shame and so much judgment that, and so much self-hate that it would keep me wrapped up in it. And I wonder if it was the same with you, that there was so much self-judgment and shame that there was nothing else to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Oh my gosh, my self-talk was so bad. If they put my self-talk on a microphone, they would have locked me up for good in a mental asylum. I'm serious. I am my, yeah, right?
Yeah.
You're so right. Shame, blame. But you know what? I think when you eventually get to the point, I mean, you and I have done a lot of work on falling in love with yourself, really, not just the words, not just saying, oh yeah, I love myself, but really doing the work, forgiving yourself, falling in love with yourself. Doorbell. It's all happening today. We've done that work. And so I think you become to be accountable for our actions. I mean, you can't blame anyone else. Blaming someone else is the easier, it's an escape. It's the easiest way out. So being accountable for, yeah, I was a sex worker. Yeah, I was whatever I was. Yeah, I did this. Yeah, I stayed in a domestic violence relationship for way too long. There's so much strength and bravery and courage that comes from taking responsibility for your actions and whatever it is. And I think that's the only way, that confrontation of just the truth and just being completely raw and real. I think that's the only way to really conquering any type of addiction, sex, alcohol. I think it's the only way. Yeah. No one else can do that for you. No one else can help you on that journey. You've got to do that on your own.
And to back up for a minute, when you talked about when you first walked in the brothel and about how crazy it was that you thought that you could find somebody to love you there, it's really not that crazy if you think about it. If you are in a position, well, number one, you're a helpless romantic.
Yeah.
And when you don't really know who you are and you're a hopeless romantic, what you're really looking for is you're looking for somebody to define you and to give you direction and to give you a purpose. And so it's not really crazy at all. But what I'm hearing from you now is at some point you realize that Richard Gere wasn't going to show up, and and that you were going to have to take responsibility for your life as opposed to waiting for somebody else to give you meaning. You had to find your own meaning.
Yeah.
So how did we go from, or what happened from the brothel? And if I'm adding things up right, you had another domestic violent relationship?
Yeah, I've had three. Oh, sorry, four. Had four of those. Now, the first one wasn't physical, that was mental. Second one, extremely mental with a little bit of physical. Third one, they're all emotional. They're all emotional abuse and mental abuse. Third one ended, um, he only did it once, and it was when I left. Uh, that was a violent breakup, which scared the life out of me. Sorry, and the husband before that, he was just mentally abusive. He was an alcoholic, and I ended up drinking a lot to be able to cope with that relationship and what was going on there. Sorry, didn't really answer your question.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. And so you survived these domestic violent relationships. What transpired? What was the wake up call?
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, on the second last suicide attempt, I had separated from my husband, but we were considering getting back together. So he was spending the night this one particular night, and I was an absolute mess. And I just thought, tonight's the night. I just thought my kids are better off without me. One of them, my daughter, I'd already sent away to live with my mum and dad because she was being damaged by our relationship. And the others, I just thought, I've got to do this. They don't need me. They're better off without me. I'm causing such damage. At least he's here. He said, my kids won't find me. He will find me. And so I took a bunch of pills. But whilst I was doing it, he woke up and disturbed me and took me to the hospital, and I had my stomach pumped and everything. Ended up in a mental hospital for a week. And then I was shipped off to my parents down. They were interstate. I went and stayed with my parents for a few years just for recovery. So I left my youngest twins behind with their dad. They were about 7 or 8, I think. I had my 2 girls with me. My eldest son was living with his father. It was just like, it was a mess. I'd been married twice. So it was kids from 2 different relationships. And just being in that situation, practically losing all my children, nearly killing myself again, I was just like, something's got to give. And it was still quite a journey for me, still a lot of healing to be done, still a lot of work. But that was you know what, something's got to change, something's got to give. And that was the moment for me.
God is good.
You know, it's by the grace of God that I'm still standing today, because really, I should be gone.
We fail at both. And we find ourselves now in a position to where we have to deal with ourselves.
Yes.
What has that journey been like? I mean, once you realized that you had to take responsibility for your life, once you figured out that there was more that you wanted, then what?
You know, I was super blessed to find someone that believed in me, because I had lost all hope, all belief in me. I just thought, I'm never going to make it. I just don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to get to the next step. Who is ever going to love me? You know, all this type of thing. But I found this person, this man, and he was a really good friend of mine, and he just built me up, just reassured me, reminded me of my worth. And that just started my whole journey onto, I'm worth this. I'm worth the time, the energy, the money it's going to take to build myself back up, to learn to love myself, to do the healing work that I really need to do. And so that started my journey. I spent, oh my gosh, I don't even want to count. I don't even want to add up how much money I spent on working on myself. But, you know, finding mentors and coaches, and I did NLP courses and any type of course that I could find that was going to push me in the right direction just helped. I had a lot, like I said before, I had a lot of damage. I had a lot of healing to do, and it was deep, deep healing. So that was my journey. There was just so much work of healing and really being able to articulate what it is that I'd been through, articulate and acknowledge that the pain that I had experienced wasn't, it was real pain. Like, I wasn't exaggerating. I wasn't dramatizing it. I wasn't making it up. It was real pain. And so it actually needed to be dealt with. And forgiving myself, I mean, I lost my children pretty much because of mental illness and because of the relationships that I had chosen to be in. That's a really heavy burden of guilt and shame to carry, more so for me than being in the sex industry. The fact that I allowed pain to be caused on my children, man, you know, I thought I'd dealt with it. And about 4 months ago, I had to do quarantine because I went to see my daughter interstate. Quarantine's so hard. And I thought, I've got this. I'm looking forward to the break. I've got study to do. Everything's going to be great. The first day I woke up, I was sick, and I laid on the couch for like 3 days watching Netflix. I can't remember the last time I binge watched TV. And after that, I thought, cool, now I can get into my study. So started my studying again. So much stuff came up, not just from my studies, but just from being in the silence, being in isolation, sitting with myself. I cried myself to sleep most nights in quarantine. Like, the guilt that came up, and I had to do so much work on myself in that apartment, so much real deep forgiveness on myself. And I actually wrote letters to my children apologizing and just, man, taking full responsibility of the situation that I'd put them in. And, you know, one of the hardest things was this. So I have done so much work on myself, and I'm now moving forward, and I am flourishing in my life. I'm thriving. My dreams are coming true and everything's falling into place. I want the same for my children, yet their stuff is their stuff. I can't help them with that. I can't take responsibility for that. They have to take responsibility. And so me being on my journey and being okay with that, and them still being wherever they're at in their journey, that's a really big thing for me. That was a really big thing, because I want to propel so far forward so fast, and I'm so ready, and I can't wait for them to catch up. They will catch up. I know they will.
Oh, just like God has a plan for you, He's got a plan for them as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So now what? What happens in Angie's life now, moving forward?
Oh my gosh. My life. I've been spinning on my head for the last 3 days. So doing this podcast with you, obviously, this is super cool. This is the first step in really getting my story out there. And as you know, I was so nervous with this, but I feel so comfortable right now. I'm absolutely really loving it. So I'm doing many more podcasts, but I also would like to start my own podcast, and reminding other women, empowering and reminding other women that they are queens, they are pearls, they've got, as Les Brown says, they have greatness within them and they deserve so much more. So getting myself out there is my goal at the moment. That is paramount for me. It's at the top of my list. So I've been speaking with one of the women in our coaching group, and she produces TV shows. So I want to do that, and launching a fashion label and writing a book. So by July, all of this will be set up, if not before, because I'm still finishing some studies. So I want to finish that first before I start the next step. Doing full, because I've done styling as well, doing full transformation packages for women. I mean, men too, if that door opens up, that's fine. I'm okay with that. But I'm starting with women. So working on their insides and then helping them with the outside as well. That's my journey. That's my goal.
I love this space. I love this space. And one of the reasons I love it is because it allows me to not only think about my journey and how amazing it is from where I came to where I am now, but I get to hear your story and listen to and realize that things could have happened completely different. And I'm so grateful that God isn't done with you yet. That you weren't successful with the suicide. Although I think that it's something that you had to experience. And, it just always amazes me, the things that we go through, that we overcome, and things, thank God, don't work out the way that we think that they need to work out at that time. And it reminds me that we're actors in a play. Yeah. We have a destiny, and everything that you've gone through up to this moment was to prepare you for one stop along the way, was this moment right here. But there's so many more moments.
This is just the beginning, baby. Just the beginning.
Absolutely. It's just the beginning. And God has a lot in store for you, because he's allowed you to go so much. He's allowed you to gather so much unique experience. There's, you were very nervous, but now I think that you realize how freeing it is. How freeing it is to be able to not only face you, what you've already done, but to face you and let the world see you. That creates authenticity. Now you become authentic. You're an amazing woman. You're an amazing woman, and you're going to do amazing things. People used to always say to me, you have no idea what's in store for you, and you have no idea what's in store for you.
Yes.
What?
Tell me again. I love hearing this.
If you were to summarize everything, and there was a concise message that you would want to tell the listeners, what would that be?
Yeah. Your life is worth living. You have so much to give, and you are so powerful. There is so much within you. And the reason you're still standing here today is because you have a purpose, and there are people that you can help. And you are a queen, and you are a pearl, and your worth is far beyond rubies, far beyond diamonds. And you and I can help them get there.
I am super proud of you. I think that this episode is how life is. Nothing's perfect. Nothing's perfect. The doorbell may have seemed like it came at the wrong time. The neighbor cutting the yard may have seemed like it happened at the wrong time, but I don't think that it did. I think that everything happened the way that it was supposed to, and that's kind of how life happens. We have these obstacles. We have these things that we have to overcome. It's never a smooth road, but it's a matter of having the tenacity and the resilience to move forward, and that's exactly what happened. So I think everything today was exactly the way that it was supposed to be,
Yeah.
because it's life.
That is life.
And you did an amazing job, which I had no doubts about.
Thank you. You told me you had me, and you true to your word.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing what your next steps are. I look forward to seeing you grow and blossom, because it's going to be an amazing sight.
It is.
I want
It is.
I want to again thank you for sharing this space with me, sharing this time with me. And I will leave you with this. It takes so much to be transparent, to be open, to acknowledge who you are, to decide who you are, to take responsibility for your life, to let people see your flaws, to let people know that you're not perfect, but you are perfect. And I commend you for all of that. And I think that everything that happened along this way had to happen, because now there's nobody that's going to step in and make Angie anything except for Angie. And I think that's the true journey of life. How does happiness occur? Happiness is an inside job. When
Yes.
we decide who we are and we take responsibility and we decide what direction we're going to move in, we find that life is amazing.
Yeah.
We find happiness because we know that we're responsible for it. And I think that's exactly what I heard you saying today.
Yeah. And interesting you say that about the happiness. I found a quote by Kobe Bryant last night. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something about finding what you love and living what you love, and that's where you'll find happiness. It was something along those lines, and it's exactly what you just said. We've all got a purpose, right? A unique purpose. And bringing that to the world, or living that, whether you bring it to the world or whether you just live it, that's what's going to make us happy and fulfill us. It's not necessarily how much is in the bank account or where you live or whatever, keeping up with the Joneses. It's doing what you love. And if along the way it benefits other people and helps other people, man, you've won, totally won. And I just want to thank you for entrusting me with this time and space. It's a real honor to be on your podcast with you, Eric.
Oh, I feel honored.
Thank you.
I feel honored. Somebody told me a long time ago that I can't exist without you. I have no idea. I have no idea who I am without the contrast. I want to serve people, and I can't serve people without people.
So true.
I can't have a podcast just by talking to myself, because nobody can hear it, right? It's so I am honored. I am honored. I want to thank you again for sharing the space with us, and you're amazing. And we'll leave it at that. You are amazing, and can't help but do amazing things.
Yes, and thank you for everything that you do for all women. Love it. Thank you.
All right, you enjoy the rest of your evening.
Will do. You too.
All right.
Conversations with Love with Eric Shawn.